You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey GH fans, Belynda from Soap Dirt here, and I want to talk about the shocking reveal that came out about who is the mastermind behind these mob boss shootings. It seems like the soap definitely wants us to think it is Jagger Cates who is behind all of this, but I just have to wonder, was that all too easy? Maybe it's not who they think it is at all. Could it be Jason rather than John Cates who is taking out mobsters? Hey, if you haven't, please click subscribe. And now I'm going to tell you why I think we should consider that this John Cates thing could be a fake lead, a red herring. So the first reason I think that the name that Sonny and Anna and Dante heard, which was Stone, may not actually refer to Jagger is because it is such an obvious and very straight line from the name Stone to the FBI agent. You know, John Cates' younger brother was named Stone Cates, and then Jagger named his son Stone after his dead brother. If you don't recall, Stone Cates was this very angsty teen. Oh gosh, it was such a good role if you weren't watching back then. Stone Cates was Robin Scorpio's boyfriend, and he was infected with HIV/AIDS. That was back in the 90s, and it was all very sad. It won GH a pile of awards because it really raised awareness and the profile for HIV/AIDS, and it also introduced Robin as someone living long-term with AIDS, and it's been a very meaningful storyline over many, many years. So when you say the name Stone, that's what a lot of fans go to, Stone Cates, clearly. And of course, when Sonny heard Selena's guy say the name Stone, he immediately jumped to the conclusion that it is a pseudonym that FBI agent John Cates is using. And then Anna and Dante heard Cyrus get the name Stone out of that guy at Pentonville when they were listening on The Wire, and they had a similarly visceral reaction, and that happened to be right before Agent Cates walked into the room. And I have to say, at the time, that was my immediate reaction too. I was like, oh, okay, Stone. That was Jagger's brother, and he loved him enough to name his son after him, and John clearly has a grudge against mobsters, so yeah, I can see that. If you don't know the history of Jagger and Sonny, you might not realize just why Jagger might hate all mobsters that much. We know he definitely hates one mobster that much. That's Sonny. But for Selena and Olivia and all these others, we'd have to dig deeper to find the roots of that grudge. So back in the day on General Hospital, Sonny was actually way more dodgy and villainous than he is now. Now he's kind of a vague lawbreaker. They don't really talk specifically about what kind of criminal activities he's engaged in. We know he normally doesn't deal arms, and that made the Pikeman deal a one-off. And he keeps insisting he's a legitimate coffee importer, but we don't really know what criminal things he's doing because they don't specify it, I think, to try and minimize demonizing him. So he's just a mob boss, but we don't know what he's engaged in. But way back then, Sonny owned a strip club and he ran drugs, among other things. And there was this very nice young lady named Karen Wexler who turned out to be Scott Baldwin's biological daughter. So Sonny had Karen dancing underage in his club, and he was also feeding her drugs to keep her on the stage. She wound up addicted and in a lot of trouble. Eventually she got clean, and later she and Jagger got married, but he always resented Sonny for what he did, targeting her, getting her hooked on drugs, putting her on a stage to take her clothes off. She later wound up dying in an unrelated incident, but I know that Scott Baldwin still hates Sonny for getting his daughter hooked on drugs and dancing at his sleazy bar, and Jagger feels exactly the same way about it. But I'm not sure that's enough to inspire an entire war against a bunch of different organized crime bosses. That seems going from one boss to hating them all. I don't know. So at first, John was a cop out in California And then later, he joined the FBI and became Agent John Cates. So maybe somewhere along the way, John got frustrated with mob bosses like Olivia, like Sonny, like Selena, ruining lives and never being punished for their bad deeds. Maybe Agent Cates thinks that these people sidestep the justice system and charges are dropped. They avoid prison. Maybe he started killing for those reasons, But John killing the same people that he's now investigating is strange. That could mean he is either 100% behind the shootings or absolutely not. If he's investigating his own crime spree, killing these mobsters, then yeah, he could steer the investigation away from it. However, I haven't really gotten that feeling about Jagger since he came back to Port Charles. In fact, he went to see Sonny and he offered him protection, which of course he refused. Then again, maybe Cates was trying to find out if Sonny knew anything about the killer and was on to him. But just because of some other things happening in the background on the soap, I tend to wonder if this whole Stone thing is a red herring that is pointing us to Jagger Cates, but the killer is someone else. The other reason I'm not jumping and buying this is because the new Jagger, Adam Harrington, I think his name is, he's on contract. So if he is some kind of mob boss serial killer, that's not the kind of thing where you can stay in town long term. That's kind of like a short arc, a guest arc. As a contract role, he can't be painted into a corner like that right off the bat because it destroys the character's longevity. You know what I mean? Just things to think about. So maybe though, there's somebody else that the name Stone is attached to, like, Jason Morgan, aka Stone Cold. I will say right away, the nickname was not something that Jason called himself. That was slapped on him by Damian Spinelli, who of course calls himself the Jackal. And it's not something that a lot of other characters, a lot of other people in Port Charles call him, but if you think about it, in terms of creating an uber villain that's masterminding a string of mob assassinations, it would be really dumb to use a name that many people would immediately hear and think of you. And that's the case with the name Stone alongside Jagger Cates. Everybody who knows Cates would immediately think of him when they hear the name Stone because he has a brother and a son with that name. If you're a smart villain, and this villain is smart because they've been getting away with it, you do not draw a direct line back to yourself, and you would choose a pseudonym that doesn't immediately scream, oh, it's him, right? Otherwise, not a very good pseudonym. So if you look at it that way, it makes way more sense for it to be Jason Morgan using the name Stone, because the only person who would immediately think, I wonder if that's Jason, would probably be Spinelli. But again, you wouldn't even think of Jason killing mob bosses because he was part of the mob, So right now, General Hospital is drawing this line directly from the shootings and the two people that were interrogated straight to FBI agent John Cates. To me, this feels a little simplistic and very obvious, and those are usually signs that we are looking at a red herring. Plus, we know Steve Burton is back as Jason Morgan in about 5 episodes, so he's almost here right as this name Stone is coming up. So yeah, totally plausible that Jason is using the name Stone. Maybe he's targeting mob bosses under somebody else's orders, or maybe he himself decided the mob is bad and he regrets ever getting involved with it. Many people wondered if he might come back as Jason Quartermain versus Jason Morgan. I don't know. We don't know the spoilers yet for his return, but the bottom line is I wouldn't say, oh yeah, that mob assassination mastermind, yeah, that's definitely Jagger Cates. I'm taking a wait and see approach because the name Stone could point to more than one person, and with Burton about to come back, I feel like we need to just be patient and not buy what they're selling us this easily. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please click subscribe if you haven't already, and definitely come back soon. And as always, this is Belynda from Soap Dirt talking GH with you 7 days a week.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.